Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited about Christmas, and this is a Christmas video on steroids. This is 2 hours of Christmas DIYs. I'm Jamie, the crafty DIY guy. Welcome back to my channel. Now, yes, it's true. I am doing a Christmas compilation because I am excited about Christmas time coming up. Also, I wanted to send a very special shout out to a follower of mine. Her name is Jacqueline. Jacqueline, thank you so much for watching. Your mom, Leslie, sent me a message. She said that you love to watch my channel, and I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know that sometimes you don't like going to bed at night, and your mom told me that she will put on different videos for you and that you always like watching my videos. So I just wanted to let you know how much that means to me. And I hope that you like all of these projects as well. And give your mom, Leslie, a hug for me for reaching out and saying hello. And everybody else, let's enjoy the videos. All right, thanks guys. Or the DIYs. I think you know what I meant. The DIY projects. I'm going to use 4 of these small diamond mirrors and 2 of these kind of larger size diamond mirrors. Also, I'm going to be using a piece of foam core that you see down below underneath the mirrors. The first thing you're going to want to do is start taking the plastic off of everything. And then you're going to want to eventually remove these hangers from the backs of your mirrors. You can either do this one at a time, kind of like I'm doing, or you can do them all at one time and then you'll be ready to start prepping. Now, my glue gun there was not loaded, so of course now I have to load my glue gun. But in the meantime, I'm going to kind of show you what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be taking 6 of these mirrors and we're kind of forming a snowflake. Now, these mirrors actually do not come perfectly together, and that's part of the reason why I'm using the white foam core backing, because that's going to help disguise that. Now, the foam core backing is also going to help us make this mirror nice and sturdy, so you can use this for a variety of different reasons. Now that we've got our gun ready to go with the glue, let's go ahead and glob a bunch of hot glue on the back of this. You are literally going to put a ton of hot glue because you want this mirror to stay on that foam core backing. Now, if you're going to put this like outdoors, or you know, maybe if you live in a more humid climate, then I would definitely use something stronger like an E6000 or E6000 quick hold. I'm in Georgia. This is going to be actually something that's going to be indoors, and I think that this hot glue is going to be perfectly fine because the cardboard backing and the hot glue, it's going to be fine. Now, I'm starting to put some hot glue on here, and then you'll see that I go, whoopsie, I've got to remove those backings. That's why I suggested at the very beginning to go ahead and remove all of those hangers off of the back of it. And the reason why we're doing that really is just so you've got a nice flat contact with the cardboard and with the foam core. The mirrors are actually really light, which is great because there's not a lot of weight that's going on this foam core. And you'll be surprised really how light this mirror really is. So after you've got those in place, then you're going to just continue to repeat that same exact process, and you are going to remove the hangers. Sometimes they come off a little harder and sometimes they come off a little easier. Just depends on I guess who was working on the assembly line at that time. And you are just going to start to add tons and tons of glue. I am using Surebonder's all-purpose glue here, and it is perfect for this. Again, just putting on a ton of glue just so you have really good contact with the cardboard and with the foam core. Now, when you get to the point where you're going to be doing the lower part of your snowflake mirror here, you are going to add more hot glue onto that longer piece. The longer pieces are kind of what are the main points, the top point and the bottom point. Think of the mirror that's pointing north and the mirror that's pointing south. Those are the larger mirrors. And then the 4 smaller mirrors that flank the side, those are the ones that I'm using. So I'm putting down the south-facing mirror, we're going to call it, and I'm just lining it up with the point of the north mirror. Now, you would think that this would make kind of the perfect kind of notch there for those other diamond-shaped mirrors, but they don't go in there perfect. And I don't know if that's just a Dollar Tree thing, a design flaw. I'm sure that these aren't exactly the same exact measurements, but as you can see, they're pretty close. And so you are going to now, once again, repeat this process. You're going to remove those hangers from the back. You're going to add a ton of hot glue, and then you are going to start to glue those into place. And here I'm going to go and be proactive and just remove all of the hangers from this mirror as well before I start gluing these down. And then, like I said, same exact process. Just put down a ton of hot glue and then just glue it right onto the paper. Now, the great thing about this is once you've got this all set, I would let it sit for, I think I let mine sit for about 20 minutes, and then I went and grabbed something to eat. I came back and then I took out my blade. This is a blade from a company called Slice, and it has a ceramic tip. It's easy to cut through foam core, and I really love working with this. And it did cut through the foam core really nicely. Now, you're going to take your time and want to go around your mirror, around all the points, and get them as close as possible. And what I've been doing is taking my slice knife here, and I'm going in at a slight angle. That way, I'm not getting a lot of pieces that I'm going to have to go back and trim afterwards. The great thing about this is if you do have any of those pieces that you have to trim, it's not a big deal at all, because you can literally just go in and trim that with even a pair of scissors, because it's foam core and it's actually really easy to cut. Now that I have all my pieces of foam core cut away from my snowflake, you can start to see how it's starting to take shape. It's nice and sturdy, and now we're going to address the center part. Now, these are a new find for me. I found these at Dollar Tree. It's a 6-pack of these pine stems, and I absolutely love these. You can get them in either silver or gold, and these are the ones that are flanked with a little bit of silver, which you'll start to see as they get a little closer to the camera. And what's great about these is that there's 6 of them in this package. Now, these stems are very hardy, which is great. I love them so much. I'm thinking about going back and buying a ton of these. Now, they are on a very sturdy wire, and you're going to take a pair of pliers or lineman pliers. I have my lineman pliers here, and I'm just going to cut the tips off of all of those stems, because I am going to want them to not be in the way of when I am gluing everything down. And I'm wanting everything to kind of come to a nice point in the center there. So now that I've got all 6 of these ready, I am going to take some hot glue and, first I'm going to fluff them out just a little bit. And then I'm going to zoom in really awkwardly. And then I think we're finally going to get to the glue gun step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding glue kind of in the channel there of the mirrors. And that's going to do 2 things. That's going to help hold that stem in place. And it's also going to help reinforce the mirror onto that foam core for any of that glue that might drip down in between those cracks. So, just like this, I'm laying down that first stem, and then I'm going to continue with the other stems in the other places. I'm going to overlap a little bit with the hot glue and try and overlap the stems in the center just a little bit, just so I have even placement throughout. And as I'm doing this, I'm literally just kind of pushing that stem down in all of that hot glue. And yes, I'm burning my hands just a little bit, but you'd be surprised how your fingers kind of get used to hot glue gun burns. It's not as hot as it used to be. And for the glue, just a tip on that: don't put it directly in just the channel of the mirrors. I would put it on the sides as well. That's what I did here. And it allows that branch or that stem to really adhere to the sides of the mirror. Some of that glue is going to drip down into that channel, and you may or may not get it all on that stem. So if you kind of zigzag it back and forth like you see me doing here, then that is going to be ideal, because you are going to have really good placement. And then, of course, there's glue strings and everything that happens with all this. But, that's part of the process sometimes, right? So keep adhering your stems until you've got a snowflake pattern that looks like this. Now for this next part, I'm going to go ahead and embellish my mirror just a little bit. I have this great ribbon that's left over from Christmas from a couple years ago. I think I grabbed it at Walmart. And then I have this door hanger that I picked up during my last haul at Dollar Tree. And I love the black and the white bells. And I love, of course, that buffalo check ribbon. I'm going to actually detach this from the ring. And it's fighting me just a little bit. But I get out the scissors and then I end up just cutting the ribbons directly away from the actual door hanger itself. They were wired on there really, really good. And now I'm just going to kind of place them and literally just put a glob of hot glue in there and use the point of my gun to just kind of squish it down there in between those pine stems. And I'm loving it. I'm really loving the way that this is looking. And again, I'm just kind of alternating those ribbons. The great thing about me cutting them from there is that they kind of already had some different lengths to them, and I just kind of alternated them, kind of like you see me doing here. And the glue, again, a little hot, but not too bad. Certainly workable. And you know, I needed to get those ribbons in there to make sure that those bells didn't fall off. Now that I've got the bells all set up, I am going to start to attempt to make a bow. Now, I am not the best bow maker, so I typically do not show how to make a bow. However, if you want to go and look at a very cool bow tutorial, I highly recommend that you go look at Jennifer's video from A Little Bit of Common Crazy. She did a zip tie bow that is fantastic. I don't have any zip ties. So Jen, I'm going to be using that bow technique soon enough. But I kind of did my version of it and just used a lot of hot glue and a lot of Band-Aids and a lot of prayer. And I'm just kind of fluffing it up right now. And I'm really, really loving the way that this is looking. And the cool thing about this is that when it's all done, you've got this gorgeous snowflake looking mirror. You didn't even have to embellish it like this if you didn't want to. You could literally leave it the way it is. For that door hanger, I just taped it on the back with a little bit of glue, and you've got a fantastic snowflake mirror that cost me about $8 in total to make. All of this is from Dollar Tree, and I absolutely am in love with it. I guess the ribbon technically is not from Dollar Tree, but you could certainly get something very similar to it from there. I love this so much. I had previously painted these for another project and then kind of forgot about them, to be honest. And I found them in my stash, and I thought that I could make them a little Christmassy and maybe even something functional for the dining room table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my trucks out, and I'm just going to give them a nice bright coat of my red apple spray paint. This is from Rust-Oleum. And I'm just going to totally just cover everything in red, including the tires, because I'm going to give the tires a fresh paint job as well when I take these inside. So this only took one coat. It was great, and I think having that base coat of that red chalk paint down from before definitely helped. Now that these are dry, we're going to go ahead and paint our wheels. I didn't really focus a lot of that red spray paint on the area where the wheels are. That's why you can still see some of the black that's coming through there. But no worry, I'm using Waverly's ink chalk paint for this, and it's going on over top of that spray paint just fine. No issues at all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint up all the wheels on the front, and then I'm also going to paint the, I guess it would be the tread of the wheels. And what you actually do is you hold on to one side of the truck wheel while you're painting everything, and then you, using your finger, you're rolling the wheel from the other side. That way you can paint the tread. I learned that little trick, and because the roofs of the truck are dry, you're able to paint those actually pretty easily. Now that everything is dry, I'm going to go ahead and add my wreaths. I picked these up at Hobby Lobby. You can usually find these at Dollar Tree and places like Michael's and, you know, various places like that. Since I'm not going to be hanging these on a tree, I'm actually going to go ahead and just remove these little clips, or this hanger, I guess, from the front of two of these. And we're going to glue these onto the trucks themselves. Now, typically you might want to put something like this in the back of the truck, but we're going to be using the back of the truck for something else. So I'm going to take my wreaths and I'm actually going to put them on the hood of my truck. I'm going to overlap them just a little bit onto the windshield. I don't recommend you doing that if you're actually driving your car, and you would want to put that on the front of your car. But I'm going to make sure that these are going to be seen when they're really cute. And then I am going to go ahead and cut off that little fiber that is there. I think it's one of the hangers that I just forgot to clip off. So clip that off, got the trucks ready to go. And now I'm going to take my candles. These candles, I am going to start to melt the wax at the end here. And I'm just doing that using my lighter here and letting it drip down onto my catch mat there, because it's not going to drip through to my workstation. Catch is going to catch all of that wax and paint and drips. And then once that end of that candle is soft enough, I'm going to stick it into the back of the truck like so. And then I'm just going to kind of pick away any of that excess wax that might have just dripped down. I'm going to repeat that for both of my trucks. Again, just taking my lighter, kind of lighting up the candle, getting the truck positioned just perfectly. And again, just holding that lighter right to the end of that candle. That way, everything is getting nice and soft. That way I'll be able to stick these in the back of those pickup trucks and get this ready to go and have it set up for my holiday dining room table. Speaking of dining room table, how cute did these turn out? This is a close-up of how cute these red trucks are. I absolutely love them. I fell in love with them, and I really love them as candle holders. This is so easy. I picked these trucks up at Michael's. They were less than $1 because they were in the clearance bins. Don't know why they were there, but they were there. I think it's red truck season. You could easily replicate this with some of the Dollar Tree cars that you see in the Crafter Square section as well. Definitely something fun for your holiday dining room table. This next DIY is going to be so easy. I picked up this crate at Dollar Tree. This was in the Dollar Tree Plus section, so this was a $5 crate. I absolutely loved the laser cutout of the tree. I thought that that was such a classic, very elegant box, just the way it looked. I wanted to go ahead and paint mine white because I'm going to put mine in front of my fireplace. So I'm going to go ahead and paint it white. I'm using Rust-Oleum's, just a flat, matte, white paint, and this is a 2 times the coverage paint, and it works really, really good. On these wood items, I do go ahead and just do 2 coats, even though I probably don't have to. I'm doing the inside and the outside of this because this is going to be kind of an open crate that's going to sit next to my fireplace. My initial thoughts on using this were a couple different ways. I think you could very easily use this for like kindling or something that you may want to have in your fireplace. I don't have a very big fireplace, so I'm not going to have a very big fire, and this could be perfect for that. What I also thought would be really fun to do is to take a bag of scented pine cones. These are cinnamon scented pine cones, and I am just going to open up this bag. I picked these up, I believe, when I went to Hobby Lobby, and I think they were like $4 or something like that. You could also use just regular pine cones if you happen to live near some pine trees. And I just thought that adding this very simply to this box is such a cute way to display this great little box. Top it off with a holiday pick of some kind, and you've got the cutest little pine cone holder. Again, you could use it for kindling or twigs. You could put, this would be a great gift basket base. I think there's a lot of really cool and fun ideas you can do with this one. And for my next project, I'm going to use a piece of this wood. Now, you can find these types of pieces of wood really anywhere. You can find them at Michael's. You can find them at Hobby Lobby. Even Dollar Tree is starting to sell wood pieces. Also, I have these wood letters. There are 2 letters in each one of these packages, and I'm actually going to be spray painting all of them. I'm going to spray paint them all this bright apple orange red, and I'm going to be doing that because I'm using these for actually 2 different projects. So for the first project, we'll be spelling out the word joy. And for the second project, can you guess what we'll be spelling out again? You're right. We're going to be spelling out joy. Now, for that piece of wood, I'm also going to spray paint that. You could use chalk paint if you want to. I am a spray paint kind of guy. love spray painting and I will spray paint as long as the weather is permitting me to do so. And thankfully today was a very nice sunny day outside, so I took advantage of it. Now for the first set of my joy letters, I'm going to take them and I'm going to arrange them on my piece of wood. Now that one side I did not finish because that's going to be hanging up against the wall. Now, if you wanted to, instead of painting this, you could use the Dollar Tree vinyl and cover this. That would be beautiful, especially with those red letters. But for me, I am going to keep mine very simple, red and white. Now, you can have fun with these letters. You could put them vertical, you could put them horizontal, you could kind of stagger them like I'm going to do here, kind of making them look a little more modern. But I think for mine, I'm going to go a little more traditional with mine, and I am going to put the J up in the upper left-hand corner, the Y in the bottom right-hand corner, and then kind of center my O between the two letters there. Now, for the letters, because you want to make sure that you have good placement with these, and because I always eyeball everything, I don't ever use a ruler. I am going to place my Y down first. Why, you ask? Just because I wanted to grab that one first. And I am going to make sure that that Y is positioned where I want it to be. I'm going to make sure that I've got the proper finger widths and such between that, and then kind of rub off any of the glue that might have seeped through there, because I'm always a little heavy-handed with the glue. And then for the J, I'm going to go ahead and position that one first. That way I have an idea of where my J's and my Y are, and then I also know where to kind of put the O in the middle of those. So if the J and the Y kind of end up being a little wonky, then at least I've got a option of where to put that O in the middle of that. So hopefully that's making sense. Again, just kind of eyeballing this. I've got the fingers with plan here, and just kind of making sure that that's stuck down, and then also kind of clearing away any of the seepage. And then for the O, we're going to make sure that that O is kind of centered like this in the center there. And again, just going to be adding some glue to the back of this. By the way, I'm using Short Bonder. This is their wood glue for this particular one. Since these are wood letters and I'm gluing it onto a wood sign, I thought that that would be the best use of my glue. I love working with my Short Bonder glue guns, and they have all different types of glue, which is great. And it's all in the stick format. They've also got this like crazy vat of glue that you can get to if you're doing a lot of really heavy projects. Now, my floral pieces there, these are actually just left over from a floral pick that I kind of destroyed. And I kept all of the pieces intact, or at least the ones that I didn't use from the previous one. And now I'm just going to kind of arrange them in the bottom corner here. And I'm going to add some of the pine pieces. I'm going to add some of the sparkly pieces. I'm going to go in with even pieces of the ribbon that were left over there. And we're just going to kind of make this into a bundle that is going to be on the corner of this sign. And I'm just doing that with my glue gun. I'm using the same exact glue gun that I used before. It'll hold up just fine. I'm taking that jingle bell, which still will jingle, by the way, and then I'm going to finish it off with some of these berries that I'm just going to kind of stick in there. I'm going to add some hot glue onto the end of it, and then I'm just going to stick it down in there just behind the bell, and then I'm going to repeat it with one more of these berries that I'm just going to pull apart from this stem. Again, just adding a little bit of hot glue down there and then gluing it right down into place. And you've got the cutest little sign. I love the way that this looks. This is a smaller sign, so you could put it on a door, I guess, feasibly if you wanted to. I might use this on an interior door, or this could even be really cute as an ornament, especially if you have a really large Christmas tree. There's a lot of really fun things that you can do with this. I also think it would be a really cute doorknob hanger, actually. Now for my next project, I'm going to take one of these wood circles from Crafter's Square Dollar Tree. I'm also using these sparkly pom-poms that I picked up at Crafter's Square from Dollar Tree also. And for this, we're going to be making a really fun ornament. Now I'm taking my circle outside, again, using my favorite paint, the spray paint. This is the 2 times the coverage by Rust-Oleum. This is a matte white finish, so you don't have to worry about any gloss or any extra shine or anything. I personally just like working with this color, this matte finish, with just about all of my spray paints, except for my metallics, of course. But I'm going to go ahead and spray paint this, and I'm going to do it on just the one side because, again, this is going to be something that's just going to hang like either on a wall or as an ornament, but the back side of it won't be exposed. If you want to paint both sides of it, by all means, go for it. Now, I'm going to take all of my pom-poms out of the bag, and I am going to start gluing these all around the edges of my circle. And to do that, I'm just swapping up my glue gun here. This is just an all-purpose glue gun, and I am going to glue all of these little pom-poms all the way down and around, making sure that I represent each one of the colors in the rainbow of pom-poms that are available for me there. And I'm literally just making sure that I grab a different pom-pom each time. And then when I get to the end, I am going to just start it all over again, working with the other colors in that same order that I did on the previous one. Now, you can put enough hot glue on there to probably glue, I don't know, 3 or 4 pom-poms at a time. So it really just depends on how quickly you can add these pom-poms. But adding the smaller circles of glue is not really that big of a deal, or adding the smaller swirls of glue, I should say, is not that big of a deal. So once you've got your ornament completely covered in the pom-poms, I'm going to kind of squish one aside just a little bit so I can just add one more white color in the middle there. You've got something that looks really cute like this. Now, this is really fun, and this is where the other letters are going to come in. I'm going to glue the joy letters to this. Now, I'm going to take the O and put that directly in the center. That way it covers up that hole in the top. You might be thinking, wait a minute, you said this was going to be an ornament. But remember, I want this to hang flat. So there's a reason why I'm not putting the there's a reason why I'm covering up that hole. So you'll see in just a minute. I'm not making much sense today. All right, so my J, I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. And obviously there's a little bit of the Y and the J that overlap, so you don't have to put glue on those parts. So for the Y, I'm just kind of putting it towards the center parts of the Y. And then I kind of did the same thing for the J as well. So once you've got your joy glued down, this is where you'll want to now add your hanger part of this. Now, I did hold these in place. Let me just tell you that before I let them go. And they did take really well. Now, on this back side here, I'm just taking a piece of this silver ribbon that I picked up, and it's kind of a stretchy ribbon. So I am going to go ahead and just tie 2 knots in each end of it, kind of like so. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm actually just going to use a staple gun for this, because this is going to be so easy. It's a nice thick piece of wood. It's going to hold it. That staple gun is also by Shore Bonder, by the way. And that is going to hang this perfectly. Now, you will see with that hanger just on the back side, that is why you can kind of get away with not covering or painting that backside. How cute is this? I really love the way this looks. This is just hanging on my wall right now, but it's definitely going to go on my other tree, which I think is going to be in my living room. Now for this one, we're going to speed on in that race car, and we're going to add a tree. If you drive a convertible like I do, you have to get your Christmas tree home some way. So for my car, I am spray painting this a metallic gold. Once that metallic gold is nice and dry, I'm going to add a nice glob of glue onto the back. If I was really transporting this Christmas tree in my convertible, I would be tying it down, but we're not going to get that fancy because we can use glue for this. I'm going to take my bottle brush tree, which also did come from Dollar Tree, by the way, and so did the car. And I'm just going to hold that into place until the car and the glue come together. I'm going to fluff up where my fingers were, and bam, you've got the cutest little piece of decor. This could be great in a man cave. You could sneak some Christmas decor maybe into your son's room or your daughter's room if she likes a sports car. There's no reason why you couldn't spray paint this another color. I really, really love this one, and this will be part of my coffee table decor for the holidays. Now, you might think that this next DIY is for Mr. Otis because I am using a cat bowl as part of the materials, but it's not. The cat bowl the bottle brush tree, the vase, and these LED lights are all from Dollar Tree. First thing we're going to do is take our bowl outside and we're going to spray paint it a metallic antique gold. And this is just kind of my theme color for this year. And I bought a lot of antique gold paint. So get used to the color. You're going to see quite a bit of it. And then for this, these sets of LED lights, this comes with this little light here that's incredibly hard to get out of this package. And I hope that the light holds up just as good as the packaging does, because good Lord, this sucker was hard to get into. But once I did finally get into it, what you have to do with this is you actually have to take it apart, because there is a piece of paper that is in there that is actually blocking the magnet or the battery from being able to make this thing work. So once you've kind of taken it apart, you're going to flip the battery out of it, and then you're going to see that little piece of paper. Get rid of that, assemble it back together, and when you screw it back together, that is where you start to see the bright, shiny lights. Now, this will change colors. This goes from green to red to white to a purpley color, and you do want to make sure that it lays flat in the bottom of your glass vase. Now, this is the shorter of the glass vases that they do have at Dollar Tree. Now, I have another one of my bottle brush trees, so I'm going to take this, and this one I am going to glue into place, because this one is going to be important that this one doesn't move around. And what I'm doing is I'm actually going to glue this in front of that light that I put down in there. Now, remember, the light is not glued in there, because you're going to have to take that light in and out of there. And we're going to we don't want that to be glued down, because then obviously you can't turn this off. Now, the snow I have here, this is also from Dollar Tree, and I am going to just kind of move the snow around. I'm going to take one of these tools here and just kind of work the snow around the tree, and to also cover up that light. And as you can see, it starts to shine through. I even love the way that some of the static on the inside of the bottle is keeping some of that snow on the side, on the inside of that bottle, making it look like it really is a snowy scene. And then, because my cat bowl is now dry, I'm going to create something on the top of that. But before I do that, I want to show you a little trick. Add a little bit of hot glue inside of your snow bag, and then you can seal this sucker up. That way it doesn't fall off the shelf and get snow all over your workstation like it did the first time I used it. So for the hot glue, that hot glue, you might think I'm gluing this to the top of the vase. I'm actually not. What I'm doing is I'm creating kind of like a seal that is going to help keep this on top of the vase. Now, I added a round, kind of a thicker part, and you can see here that it holds it in place, but it still allows me to move it up and down. And that's just so it doesn't slide off of here. Now, for the top of that, I'm just going to add a battery-powered candle, and boom, you've got a cute little candelabra or candle scene here. If I can find the larger Dollar Tree glass vase, I'm definitely going to make another one of these. I think that this is such a cute idea for Christmas. For my next DIY, we're going to be using this stool. This is a little footstool that I picked up at Dollar Tree. This was in the Dollar Tree Plus section, and it was $5. Mr. Otis has already stood on it a couple times. That's why it has cat hair all over it. But we are going to fix that with a Dollar Tree bandana. This is just a Dollar Tree bandana. It is the buffalo check. And we are going to make this cutest little footstool that's going to sit next to my chair in my living room, right where my Christmas tree is going to go. For the bandana, I'm just going to lay it out flat. You could iron this if you want to, but I don't really think it's necessary. It's kind of like a poly blend. And then for the footstool, you're just going to put this top down on top of the bandana, and you are just going to start stapling. You'll definitely need a staple gun for this versus a regular staple, because it is kind of a heavier wood ring in there, and you want to make sure that your staples will go all the way through. Now, I kind of do this like a clock. I start at 12 o'clock, then I go to 6 o'clock, then I go to 3 o'clock, then I go to 9 o'clock, kind of pulling each one of those corners together. And then as I am kind of working my staple gun around, I am also pulling on the fabric as I'm going around the corners and around the circle. And then when you get to the areas where you've got a bulk of the fabric, what I will do is almost create a pleat and just make it as straight as possible and then pull that pleat up as well. I apologize for the camera angles here. It's kind of hard to see exactly what I'm doing, but basically all you want to do is just make sure that when you are pulling your fabric up, that you're just pulling it nice and tight and flat and making sure that you've got some nice creases there. That's why if you start with the clock kind of idea, going with 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, then the other kind of numbers, if you will, on each one of the corners kind of tend to fold together a little bit easier, making some really nice, straight, crisp seams. Now, for the excess, after everything has been stapled and put into place, then I'm going to go through and cut away any of this excess bandana. And I'm just doing this with a small pair of scissors. That way I can get in and really get super close to that. And then if you have any frayed pieces that, you want to just go back in and trim away, you certainly could do that. You could also use hot glue and just go back in and just kind of reinforce any of those kind of frayed pieces just to make sure that none of those are hanging down past your footstool where people would see that you covered it up with a Dollar Tree bandana. God forbid they see that. Then as you can see, if I go back through and just kind of tighten up anything with the staples or remove any of these pieces that are just kind of excess and hanging out, you can use your staple gun a lot for this. It is your best friend. And then again, just going through and trimming off those excess pieces, making sure that you've got everything completely covered and ready to go for the next step. Now, for the next step, I thought that the legs were really cute the way that they were, but I did want to go ahead and darken mine up a little bit. So I'm going to use my Waverly antiquing wax. And by the way, how many staples do you think I used? It looks like I used like 10,000 staples to hold that bandana on. But you know what? It ain't coming off. So anyway, back to the antiquing wax. I just rubbed it around until I had the desired color that I liked. And once it's all done, this is what it looks like. How adorable is this cute little footstool? It is perfect for Christmas. I can set it up next to my tree. I can set it up next to my chair by the fireplace. It is such a cute addition, and it was $6 to have this done, completely done. $6. This next project is going to involve one of these trays. This is from the Dollar Tree Plus section. It was $5. And also, I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree vinyl. But guess what? We are not going to be needing a cutting machine of any kind for this project. So take your tray. You can paint it with your chalk paint if you want. I'm using, guess what? My spray paint again. And I'm using that same white Rust-Oleum flat matte finished white spray paint. And I am going to make sure that I'm doing the edges on the inside. I'm also doing the sides on the outside, and then also making sure that I'm getting inside of the handles. Now, the bottom part of that tray, where you can see I'm kind of not spray painting at all, I'm not going to worry about that as much because I really want to focus on the edges, the insides, and the outsides of this, because the bottom part, we are actually going to be covering that, so you're not even going to see that. So no worries at all. Now, the Dollar Tree vinyl is a permanent vinyl, or they say it's a permanent vinyl, and you can cut this down very easily to cover the bottom of your tray. What's great about this particular roll of vinyl is that because it is this buffalo plaid here, this buffalo check, it is, believe it or not, you can cut it down to be perfect sized for the inside of this tray. That was pure luck. The two black lines that the black lines that are on the actual vinyl itself just happen to match up with the interior of the tray. So I'm not sure if that made sense, but it will make sense in just a minute here. So now that you've got the piece of vinyl cut that you need, now I think you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So if I were to take this and just fold it over, you can see how the insides are going to really match up with that black line on the left where my thumb is and on the right where my thumb is. So I am going to now cut right along that line. This is great because you don't have to measure. You don't have to get out your ruler or a straight edge. You can literally just eyeball it and go right along that black checked line as you're doing that. And you're going to do that on both sides of this. So once you've got this done on both sides of it, your vinyl is going to fit perfectly inside of the tray. Now, I have not peeled away this yet because what I'm going to do is just kind of measure where I need to cut the end. So all I did was fit the vinyl in there and then just took it, folded it down on the edge there, and then I'm going to cut it right on that fold line. That way I know that this vinyl will fit down inside of the interior of my tray. Now for this, again, you can follow those grid lines. I think for this one, I'm following really more so the fold than anything. It overlapped just a wee little bit, but you couldn't really even tell. So not a big deal with this one. And the great thing about it is if you mess it up, you've got more vinyl there on the left-hand side that you could easily fix this if you needed to. So now that I made sure, again, that everything is going to fit properly inside of the tray, it is time to go ahead and peel away the backing of this. Now, the peeling away of this is kind of pretty much like any other Dollar Tree product. It does take a little while, but once you get the hang of it, take your vinyl, roll it up, take that little edge of it that's sticky right now, make sure that you've got it lined up properly inside of your tray. I have not pulled away the backing as of yet. And then once you start to roll out your vinyl, you can use your hands, you can use a credit card, you could use a piece of cardboard. I am going to grab my other cutting machine tool, and that is going to help me kind of smooth everything out. Again, if you have a credit card in your wallet, if you have an expired gift card, if you have a sturdy piece of cardboard, or if you're lucky enough to find the tool that Dollar Tree sells that also is very similar to the one that I'm holding, you can totally do this and rub it flat just like I'm doing, getting rid of all the air bubbles, getting rid of all of the, kind of random air bubbles that really would pop up for this. This surprisingly laid really nicely for me. I was really happy with the way that this turned out, and it held really well. I didn't use any extra glue or anything. And when you are done, you've got the cutest little tray. Now, for this tray, I'm going to show you what it looks like just with nothing in it at all, but think of the possibilities. This could be a great tray that you make with your kids where you could put Santa's cookies on. You could use this on a coffee table and stage some of your Christmas candles or ornaments. I think that there's a lot of really fun ideas that you can do with this tray, and I was super, super happy with this, and I was super happy with the Dollar Tree vinyl. Now, I don't know about your Christmas, but my Christmas is not complete without a little bit of bling. I'm taking one of these plastic candy jars and also some of this adhesive diamond wrap from Dollar Tree, and I am going to just create a little bling bowl that I can set ornaments in. I can serve candy in it. I can do anything I want with it because it is my bling bowl. Now, if you've not worked with this adhesive diamond wrap before, it is great. It is literally like a giant sticker. And what's great about it is that you can also cut it. So I'm going to cut it for the same thickness as the width of my bowl. And we are going to take this and we're going to wrap it all the way around the bowl. Now, you will need at least 1.5 of these kind of strips, but don't worry, one package of diamond wrap is going to be more than enough to be able to go around this. Now, the backing is adhesive, but I am going to add just a little bit of hot glue just to go ahead and help reinforce and really make sure that that is good and held and strong. And then I'm just going to line it up. I'm going to squish it down, and then I'm going to wrap all the way around. And when you get to that end there, that's when you just cut your other piece and you'll just go back through and wrap it until you've got something that looks just like this. Now you've got the fluted part or the feet part of this bowl also that you want to cover, and one strip of diamond wrap will go all the way around that lower part. You'll have to cut off, I think it was like 4 or 5 little pieces of the diamond wrap at the end of it, but not to worry. the thickness is perfect for this. And then if you really wanted to, you could wrap the rest of the stem. You could wrap the bottom of it. You've got the extra diamond wrap to be able to do that. I chose to just kind of keep the crystal and the diamond portion kind of showing, if you will, the plastic crystal part of it anyway. And then as you can see, again, this diamond wrap has that adhesive back to it, and it literally does just stick down. And because this has that really cool kind of octagon shape as you're working your way around, the diamond wrap is super flexible and it will completely cover everything really, really easily. And it will make your life really pretty easy, because usually the stickiness of this diamond wrap is really strong. And check out the little bling bowl that I made here. Now, you get to control the bling factor because you can put anything you want in it. This just has an oversized Christmas pick right now, but I added some decorative lights, and you've got a very cute setup. You could put candy in this, you could put florals in this, you could put floating candles in this. I think that there's a lot of really, really cool ideas you could do with this particular bowl. And now for my last DIY, we are going to make something for Santa Claus and for his cookies. This is going to be a really cute kitchen accent. We're going to use some wood beads. I've got some stickers from Dollar Tree. I've got some twine. And then that rolling pin did come from Hobby Lobby. I think my twine might be a little thick, so I will end up switching to a Dollar Tree twine. I'm going to take my rolling pin and just make sure that this is nice and smooth and sanded. And I'm just going to do that and then just kind of wipe off any of the excess sawdust that might be still on there. And then for my lettering, I am going to try and rip this plastic off. The plastic is extremely strong. Don't you think it's funny how sometimes you can't get into the actual packaging itself, but the item that it's packaged in sometimes will be more fragile than the packaging? I just think that's hilarious. I'm going to spell out cookies for Santa using my stickers here. And after I have cookies for Santa completely spelled out all the way around, I am going to take some white antiquing wax and I'm going to cover this up in that. Now, for some reason, I'm a bonehead. That part did not film. I forgot to film while I was doing it, but you'll see kind of what it looks like when I put it off to the side here. You can kind of see it looks a little dusty, like it was covered in flour maybe. Now, I am going to take a piece of twine, and I did end up switching to the thinner Dollar Tree twine, and I'm just going to thread my twine with some beads, and I'm just going to alternate. I'm going to use 2 red and then 1 white, and then 2 red and then 1 white, and just kind of create this tassel, if you will, or this garland out of this these beads. And what we're going to do is create something that I think would be really, really cute for a tiered tray, perhaps in the kitchen. Or this could be something that you also leave the night of, Santa Claus, when Santa's coming to bring the presents and you are making cookies with the kids. This is something that you can leave as a little note for Santa so he knows where his cookies are. By the way, if you're wondering why the twine at the end of that is so stiff, I did take some hot glue and just added the hot glue to the end of that twine. That way everything is nice and stiff and it makes it really, really easy to thread all of my beads. So once I've got the beads all thread and ready to go, I do need to attach them to my rolling pin. So what I'm going to do with my rolling pin is I'm actually going to take a very small drill bit. Obviously be very careful when you are doing this, but I'm going to take a drill bit and I'm going to drill into the handle of my rolling pin, because I'm going to attach this twine directly to that rolling pin. I just added a little bit of hot glue into the hole that I drilled, and then I'm just going to take my beads and just feed them down to the end of where it connects to the rolling pin. That way it helps hold it in 2 different ways, because you've got the glue on the end of the twine, but then you've got the glue that's on the ends of the beads there. And I love the way that that rolling pin kind of looks like it's been dusted with flour, like you literally were just making cookies for Santa. Now, this next part is going to be optional. optional. You can either remove the stickers like I'm going to really kind of give this a, homemade cookie kind of a feel, or you can leave your lettering on. And when it's all done, you've got the perfect little kitchen garland or tassel that you can leave out with your cookies for Santa. I think this would be so cute on a tiered tray in your kitchen, but also put it around the plate where Santa's cookies are going to be. You can even tie it to a cookie jar, and I think that would be adorable. Next project, we're going to use a Dollar Tree sheet pan and one of these trucks. And through the magic of YouTube, my truck is going to be spray painted red. Now, you will notice that I did take the back or the side rails of my truck off of the back. I think they're called side rails. It's the rails that are typically across the back of the pickup truck. Stay with me here because you'll see what I'm going to do with them next, or coming up anyway. The cookie sheet that I grabbed from Dollar Tree, I'm going to now use that to trace the fenders of my truck. And I'm just using my fingers for this. This is very, very thin baking sheets. So if you're going to cook with these, I would recommend that you double or triple these up, because I have thrown many cookies on the floor in the kitchen using these super thin baking sheets. However, they do work perfectly for DIYs, especially this DIY. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim out the fender for the back of the truck. And I'm just literally following those crease lines that I created with my fingers and using just regular scissors for this. Now, you can obviously use a metal tin or something like that. You don't have to, because these sheets are thin. Now, this will be a little sharp, so you will want to, of course, be careful when you're cutting this. But go ahead and just trim out the fender for the front and for the back. You're going to repeat this process for both of your truck fenders. And by the way, doesn't my wheel look a little wonky on the front? I just noticed how kind of oblong that front wheel is, but I guess that's my fault for picking a wonky truck. But that's okay, because this truck is actually going to be for the bad boys and the bad girls of Christmas. Now, you will understand what I'm getting at in just a minute here. So after you've got all of your fenders trimmed, go ahead and just glue those down. I'm using just regular hot glue for this, and we are going to move on to our next part of the project. Now, for the area where the door handle would be and that kind of trim piece, I guess, of the truck, I'm going to cover that up with a piece of my cookie sheet as well. So I'm just going to cut down a square that's about the same size to cover up the door handle as well as that area, and then I just tape it down. Now, for our paint, I am using Waverly's ink chalk paint, and I am going over the tires to make my tires black. And when I'm doing this, I'm not really worried about whether I'm getting any of that black paint on the red hubcaps. In fact, you will see shortly that not only am I worrying about that, but I'm also going to take some of that same black chalk paint, and we are going to be painting down the fenders of our truck just a little bit, because we want this truck to look dirty. We want this truck to look like it has been in the coal mines, for example. And we are just going to dirty up those fenders, and then you can use any kind of a towel, paper towel, anything to kind of wipe off some excess, and it's going to give your fenders kind of a rubbed out or worn out look. So it's not so bright and shiny like our cookie sheet originally was. Now for the rails on the back of the truck. Now I did take those off before I spray painted everything red, and I'm going to be using some good old antiquing wax on this. And this is just Waverly's antiquing wax. I use just a little bit on a brush and then cover it and then wipe it away to give it that really cool kind of aged look. Now I glued the rail or the fencing or whatever that is in the bed of the truck up a little bit higher than what it was originally set at, because I want the truck to look like it is filled with something. And we are going to be filling the back of the truck with something very, very soon. Before I do that, though, I am taking any of the residual kind of black paint from the truck that dried on the brush, and I am just going back through and just kind of aging my metal again. I'm kind of getting in the creases of the truck, like where the handle was and everything, getting some darkness around the wheel well, and just kind of really making this look like this truck is dirty. It's still a Christmas truck, so it's not going to really be like technically dirty, but I think you understand what I'm going for here. Now, on the back, we're needing something to fill our truck with. So I am taking these Jenga block pieces. They don't have to match. It doesn't matter what color they are. Just grab 2 Jenga pieces and kind of separate them like this and glue them on the back just below the railing that is on the side of your truck. Now you understand maybe you're gonna understand soon why I did that. Now I am taking some beads and I am going to thread these onto a skewer. And I am going to use that second baking sheet that came with that 2-pack from Dollar Tree. And I am just going to tape it down across my pan. The skewer is the perfect size, and taping this down is going to enable me to paint my beads really quickly. The beads are going to roll around a little bit, but you can definitely do this. And then I'm going to take my heat gun and dry those beads and get those ready for the back of the truck. Any ideas what those beads are supposed to represent yet? All right, now after I have all of my beads painted and dried, I'm now taking sheets of burlap and I'm cutting them into squares, and I'm going to wrap each one of my beads into its own little burlap bag here, and I'm going to tie this off with my twine. Now the poof at the top of my burlap square, it's a little large, so I'm going to trim these down to make them look like little tiny bags of coal. And I love the way that this looks. I just wrapped all of the beads that I painted into these burlap squares. I tied it off with the twine. I cut away any of the excess. Now I'm also going to use 2 very large Jenga pieces that I had picked up at like a yard sale. Somebody had wrote some stuff on them from a family event. Doesn't matter to me because I am strictly using those to prop my truck up and to stand my truck upright. Now, I am going to take some Dollar Tree letters. This is not vinyl. It is Dollar Tree letters. I am using my Cricut tool so to help me poke out some of those little sticker pieces that don't come out. Now, if you do have a Cricut and you want to create this using your Cricut, by all means do that. Don't do what I just did and tear up your bee though, because that is not any fun. Now, once I have all of my letters spelled out, I am spelling Bad List Company. This is the Bad List Trucking Company, delivering bags of coal to bad boys and girls all around the world. Now, I am going to take my antiquing wax after I've made sure that all of my stickers are placed on top of that popsicle stick really well. And we are going to apply a light coat of the antiquing wax. We're going to dry it just a little bit with our heat gun. And then we are going to remove all of those letters. When you're removing those letters, it almost gives it this look of like a scorch pen, like a reverse scorch pen. I have a scorch pen somewhere. I wanted to use my scorch pen originally for this idea and could not find it. I am in bad need of getting some organization done in my craft room, but I did find my Dollar Tree letters, and I know that these are pretty common. People can usually find these pretty easily, but when it's all done, it is going to say Bad List Company or Bad List Trucking Company. And I did go ahead and also just kind of square off the ends of my popsicle stick. That way I had a nice squared off sign. I'm going to apply this to the side of my truck, and we are going to have the Bad List Trucking Company ready to start delivering coal. Although first we have to load our truck with the coal. So to load our truck up, all I'm going to be doing is gluing those little coal satchels or coal bags down to the Jenga blocks that we glued onto the back of our truck. And now you can kind of see why I did the railings the way I did, because if you look at the truck, it looks like it is filled with bags of coal that is going out to all of the naughty boys and girls out there in the world. I was going to originally call it the Naughty Trucking Company, but I thought that might be bad. So I went with the Bad List Company. I love the way that this turns out. I think it's super cute. I think it's very whimsical. I added a bow where that other hole was for hanging. You could certainly fill that in with wood filler if you wanted to, but I'm so happy with this one. Going to use one of these Dollar Tree floral cones. I picked this up and then I took it outside and spray painted it silver. I also grabbed a package of these light strings. Now these light strings actually also have clips on them. So after I spray painted my cone and it was dry, I then took my light string and I am just going to wire it through the cone itself. And because this is made of wire and also with the lights, it's actually going to be really, really cool because the wire is going to help keep the light string actually intact onto your cone as you're kind of winding your way up. And I'm just kind of doing it every little, every other one kind of, and just working my way all the way to the tippy top. And this is the larger floral cone, by the way. And when you're all done, you've got a great display for your Christmas cards that you may receive from friends and family. And I think it looks really, really cool when it's displayed on your mantle or on maybe your entry table in your home. I really love the way that this one turned out. And for project number 2, we are going to take one of these Dollar Tree glass vases and also some of this pesky Dollar Tree snow. I happen to have a little snow pile there, and also some of these Dollar Tree gemstone sticker designs. Now, what I was really happy about with these gemstones is that they actually do come off as the entire star. So you're not trying to recreate each individual star with this pattern. So all you're going to do is take your star pattern and literally just kind of create what you want all the way around. Now, I will say I did use 2 packages of these stars because I started with the larger stars and then worked my way around with some of the smaller pieces and some of the smaller accent pieces. I did actually end up having 1 star that was left over, but you'll see that in a future project. So for this, you're just going to go ahead and just literally apply your stars wherever you want. Then I'm going to pick up as much of that snow I can on just a scrap piece of cardboard here. And actually, I think it's a piece of greeting card from a future project. But we're going to add some snow into the bottom of that and just kind of shake it around, get it as flat as possible. And then I found this great pillar candle at Dollar Tree as well that had this great gold on the bottom of it. I loved it and thought it was going to be absolutely perfect. I just put that in the bottom there and just kind of nestled that down into the actual vase itself and into that snow, making sure that it was as flat as possible. And I love the way this looks, but when you light it up, it looks even prettier. Can you see the shadowing in the background there? How it's cascading that star effect on the wall there? I really, really love this and think that this is so beautiful and so easy. All right, everyone, and for our next project, we are going to use 2 different types of greeting cards here. We've got the snowman and the tree, and then we've got some embellishments that we're going to be adding as well here, and then also 2 different types of frames. I have one frame that says Yum that has some sequins in it, and I have a bank that I've had in my stash for quite a while here, and I'm gonna do some stuff with them today. So go ahead and take your Yum frame and peel off that cardboard backing on the back there. It's very, very easy to do, and as you can see, it kind of reveals like a picture frame. Now go ahead and save that cardboard backing because we're gonna actually glue that back on once we reassemble everything. But go ahead and just pull up your metal tabs. They're pretty sturdy, so I don't think you have to worry really about breaking them or anything. I would still be kind of gentle. The backing in there, you can keep that or you can discard it, totally up to you. And then you will notice that your frame, in order to keep it kind of three-dimensional, it has this styrofoam border that's kind of in there, and all I'm doing is just kind of peeling that away, and I am setting it aside. We are going to be reusing that as well, so you don't want to get rid of those. You want to take those off as easily as possible. You can use a variety of things. I have this tool that is kind of a scraper. I think it's used for the Dollar Tree vinyl. It looks a lot like the Cricut tool that I have, but it actually works really, really good as a scraper here. And as you can see, the Yum lettering that was on the front is coming off of this really, really easily. Now, if you wanted to replicate this, maybe you have the same exact sign in your stash and you wanted to put like a gingerbread man or a hot cocoa or something like that, that Yum on the front could be perfect. For me, however, it's not going to be so perfect for this one. Now that I've got the glass all cleaned and everything scraped, I am just going to replace that styrofoam, because that styrofoam is going to still help give our frame that three-dimensional kind of look and feel that we really do need for this particular project. So once I've got everything in place, now I'm going to take the cardboard backing and I'm going to figure out kind of the best placement on my greeting card, because I'm going to use that as my template. And check this out. I'm just going to go rogue. I'm not even going to trace around it or anything. I'm going to hold it super tight, take a very long pair of scissors here, and I'm just going to snip right around that cardboard. Now, my frame or my picture here is blue and silver. And I found this tube confetti that had this bluish silver color that's almost got some gray tones in it. And I thought that it would be absolutely perfect. Now, trick here that I've learned: trim just the corner, pour out what you need. Make sure that you don't have anything else in there. I had a little piece of plastic or something that was in there. And I am going to pour on some confetti. Then take your glue gun, add some hot glue to the plastic part, and then just fold that over, and you've got a bag that is now sealed, so you don't have to worry about this tube confetti getting all over your craft stash. Now, full disclosure, I put way too much tube confetti in there. I did figure that out after the fact, and I adjusted it. So don't put that much tube confetti in there. That's a lot of tube confetti. That's an actual snowstorm. That's a blizzard. So once you've figured out how much tube confetti to use, go ahead and assemble everything back. I did glue the card to the back of that cardboard backing, and I'm just reassembling everything like it was when I took it all apart. And then for the backing itself, all I'm going to be doing is just adding some hot glue right around the edge there. And then I'm going to add that piece of cardboard right to the back. That way this looks completely covered on the back, and it is really, really solid. And that's important because whatever you fill this with, you don't want leaking all over the place. Now, this is it. When it's all done, again, snow has been adjusted. We're no longer in a blizzard, but I love this. I think it's so, so cute. I actually have this on a tiered tray in my bathroom right now on display. Now, for the next version of this project, we are going to be using that bank. So go ahead and remove all the plastic, all the goodies, all the stuff that, gets in the way. Sometimes I think the plastic coating and the plastic coverings are a lot harder to remove than the actual item itself. I've broken items before trying to remove plastic and packaging, which I think is hilarious. Now, for this is just a very simple cardboard piece here. You can put that aside and save it. Same thing with the scraper, but I didn't take it out because the way that frame is actually put together, you're not going to really be able to do that without risking breaking everything. So all I did was kind of scrape it all like I did before, and then I took just a wet towelette and just wiped it away and cleaned the glass with it, and then it was fine. Now, for this guy, we're going to be using the Snowman, and once again, taking that cardboard, going rogue, and just cutting it and trimming it right around the cardboard. Now, you may notice there's a little bit of an edge that you're seeing on the cardboard. Not a big deal, because that's actually going to be hidden. I'm also making sure that the bank portion is down at the bottom of my design, because I didn't really want to deal with that, and I knew that those bells wouldn't come out of there. So this is what it looks like when it's all done. How cute is this? I really, really love this. And again, this is going to go on a tiered tray, probably in my kitchen, although I think it would actually look really, really cute in the guest bedroom as well. All right, and for project number 5, I have some tassel beads that are garland that is left over from a project that I did. I also have this fillable ornament and these gold bells. I'm gonna actually use some metallic paint to paint the silver stem of that light bulb part of the ornament. I just didn't like it with the gold bells, and I didn't have any silver bells, even though I really wanted silver bells, but that's okay. I'm going to make the best of it, and all I'm doing is taking this metallic paint by Folk Art, and I'm just going to cover that silver part of that top of that ornament that kind of looks like a light bulb to me. This actually just took a couple coats, and it was really, really easy to do. It doesn't look like at first that it's going to adhere very well, but once you do a second coat, this was great. And all I did was just set this aside and let this dry. After it was dry, I am going to feed some thread through there. And this is actually the thread that is from that piece of garland that I have. I'm going to use a skewer here to kind of help poke it through the holes. There are 2 holes at the top of that. If you go through just one of them with your string, it's perfectly fine. Now, this garland actually worked out really, really well, because this garland is made out of 2 strands of twine to keep it really, really strong. And that actually worked to my advantage, because I was able to take each individual piece and tie it together in a knot, and then make sure that that knot was very tight down towards the bottom or the interior of my I'm just going to call it the light bright thing. And I did add some hot glue in there as well. And then I took my scissors, trimmed it off, and took my skewer and just made sure that all of that excess twine was, stuck down in that glue glob there. Now it's time to fill the ornament. I'm going to take my ornament and fill it with these gold bells that I picked up from Dollar Tree. Again, loving the way that this looks already, and super, super happy with this. I love this so much. To me, this looks so elegant. It's like farmhouse, but it's a little elevated. You could play around with the color of beads, of course. I had that garland piece left over, and I knew I had to use it for something, and I'm so glad that I did. All right, everyone, and for project number 7, I'm going to take this Dollar Tree votive holder that has this gold trim. I have had this one for quite a while, and it's definitely one that's been used. I am taking that leftover star from the previous project, and I am just going to line it up along the bottom, and I'm going to stick it to the side of the votive, because what's great about this star is that it is the perfect size for this votive. Also, when this is all done, I love the way this looks. I think that that gold and that silver popping off of that black is amazing. I also think that this is something that I could use in my decor beyond Christmas time, which I'm definitely all about, especially when it comes to a little bit of bling. This next DIY is super, super fun. You're gonna need a glass container like this. I picked mine up from IKEA, and then I grabbed a chamois. This is a white chamois cloth that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I just traced out a circle and then cut it out, and then kind of cut it just right at the line, so my circle fit perfectly down in the bottom. Then I had this bottle brush tree. He's a little tall for my thing I'm doing here. So I'm just going to take my wire cutters and just go right across the trunk of that tree. We're going to trim that down a little bit so it fits down inside of my container from IKEA, and we are set to go there. Now, we want the snow to stay in place. So I'm going to take the snow out. I'm going to add just some dashes of glue down in the bottom here. I'm using the all-purpose glue from Shore Bonder, which sticks to almost everything. And then I'm going to take my chamois cloth or my snow cloth, and we're going to drop it down in the bottom there. Now, If it hangs up, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. How cute are these? I wanted these and wanted to use these for so long. I had these left over from my stash from last year. The first thing I'm going to do is remove these kind of pieces of twine on the bottom of these skis, because I am going to glue these skis together in a crisscross fashion. That way they don't fall down, first of all, but also because I want that set up. I love that kind of iconic crossed skis look that you see a lot of times with fall and, Christmas decor. And I think it would just be super, super cute. And for the next pieces, I'm so excited with the way that this turns out. Like, I'm really, really blown away with this one. There's this great little ski lift chair. How cute is this? And I was thinking if I glued it to the top of the lid, then my ski lift kind of freeform hangs. However, it's a little long, as you can see. So I'm just going to take it. I'm going to tie it in another knot. I'm going to make sure that that knot is the proper size. And then I'm going to snip off the top of it because, again, I want my ski chair to kind of hang freely from the lid of my jar. So I'm going to go ahead and add some glue. We are going to get that piece of twine set to where that chair is going to be hanging in the exact spot. And then we are going to add in the other pieces. So let's go ahead and add in our tree. We're going to get that in the jar. We're going to put that off to one side because remember, we do have that hanging ski lift. Then you've got the other pieces. And how cute is this? Oh my gosh, if you added some twinkle lights or something to this, I think it could be absolutely adorable. I just tied the top off with a ribbon and I am obsessed. I cannot wait until Christmas time to display this. Paper cardboard-esque mailbox that I picked up from Hobby Lobby last year on clearance, and also this Dollar Tree candle stand, which is going to be painted. Now, speaking of paint, we've got this Deco Art chalk paint for this mailbox, and I'm going to start painting this. Now, I will say, I don't know if chalk paint was the best idea. The chalk paint worked really great, of course. The coverage is fantastic. But after 1.5 coats, I would say, I ended up switching to a gloss paint. I just used an acrylic gloss that I had. And I have to say, I think it really worked out a lot better. Now, this was fun. This was definitely a process. I just had some good music on in the background and just took my time painting and getting every single bit of this covered. And I do mean every single bit. But as you can see with the gloss paint, I think it made a world of difference. And now I'm going to go ahead and embellish this. I just took out my Cricut, created some very easy kind of designs. These were just in the kind of design space. There weren't any kind of, I didn't create these, I guess I really should say. Now, anytime I'm applying vinyl, especially to something like cardboard or paper, I'm really trying to focus just on the kind of sticker part and not the sticky part. Now, for my candle stand, I did paint that black, and we are going to glue that onto the bottom of our mailbox because this is kind of going to look like a mailbox post. That's why I painted it black. Now, I just glued it kind of there in the center, and then I'm going to take my mailbox and just fill it with some miscellaneous stems and pieces that I have left over in my Christmas stash. I added junk mail to mine, but you could certainly add some Santa mail to yours. I think that this would be super, super cute for the kids, and I think that they would get a kick out of sending a letter to Santa Claus and having a dedicated mailbox for it. We're going to use 2 of these wood squares that I picked up from Dollar Tree in the crafter square section. They have all these great new wood shapes that I'm really, really loving. I also grabbed 5 of these Jingle Bell ornaments. These are oversized. The glitter ones were the only ones that they had in my store. If you find solid colors, I would prefer you go with those. I also grabbed a package of these kind of like little sauce cups. Like I put my barbecue sauce in there for my chicken McNuggets. Now I'm going to go and take each one of these jingle bells, and we're going to get rid of the greenery that's on top here. And what we're going to do actually is put that greenery aside, because we are going to be using that for another project in this same video. So once you've kind of wrestled all of these off, you're going to just have the bells themselves. So you're going to go ahead and put those aside, and then we are going to start on the next part of this project. Now, this is the fun part where you get to get out a little bit of your holiday aggression, if you will. And you are going to take a pair of pliers or just a lightweight hammer, and you are going to flatten out each side of the bell, or at least the top and the bottom side of the bell. And the reason why you're going to do that is because you're going to be stacking these. And you could certainly use a hammer if you wanted to, but I'm using these pliers just because they're a little bit lighter weight, and I can have a little bit of a lighter hand with them. And again, all you're doing is just kind of pounding out on each side and just making sure that you have a flat surface to start stacking with. And now that you've got the flat surfaces, you can go ahead and start gluing these together. Now, I'm just going to be using some Surebonder all-purpose glue. These are going to be indoors. This is going to be perfectly fine for this project. If you wanted to use an E6000 or super glue, by all means, go for it. Any of these glues work out really, really well. I am just going to make 2 towers of bells. I'm going to have one tower that's going to be 3 bells, and then I'm going to have one tower that is just going to be 2 bells. Now, you could certainly build this up as high as you want. When you are doing this, though, you want to make sure that when you're gluing your bells down, that they're, nice and straight, or as straight as they can be. A lot of that's going to be dependent on how you banged your bells earlier. And, you're going to want to be, I guess, a little heavy or a little lighter handed with that. That's why, again, I was using the pliers for that. So once you've got your 2 stacks done, then it's time to bring in those chicken nugget dipper cups, as I like to call them. Now, for those chicken nugget dipper cups, you're going to just kind of repeat the same process, really, of just gluing these right on top. Now, you're not going to bang these. These are glass, by the way. And just so you know, when you do pick up the 4-pack initially, you're going to think that they're really, really heavy. They're actually not. These are very lightweight, and they're kind of perfect for on top of these bells, honestly. Let me adjust that camera so you can kind of see what I'm doing with the top ones there. And then I took them outside and I spray painted them, and I gave them a nice coat of my spray paint. And I'm using this mirrored reflection from Rust-Oleum. What is pretty unique about these particular bells is because they are glitter, they have that texture on them. And that is why I was saying earlier, if you can find your bells without any of that glitter texture, I would recommend going with that for sure. And when everything is dry, I just took it inside and added my battery-operated candles, and it is done. I love the way that this looks. It is such a classic Christmas kind of DIY. It's so simple to make. I think I made this for, $7, and it looks like something high-end that you would find at like Home Goods. I'm obsessed. Now for this next one, I'm pretty excited about this. I grabbed this sign at Target. This was in their dollar spot. I've seen very similar kind of palette style signs at Dollar Tree, so you could certainly use those as well. I'm also going to be using this ski lift ornament. I have this wood round from Crafty Square, and then some of this faux snow. Now I have created something on my Cricut, but if you don't have a Cricut, you can use these types of letters. They come in red, they come in green, they come in white. I'm also going to be using my Dremel tool. You could certainly use a regular saw if you had one of those as well. Now for that sign, that arrow directional sign, I'm just going to go ahead and just make a straight line, or a somewhat straight line, using that bag. I couldn't find my ruler. And then I'm just going to take my Dremel here, and I am just going to go across here. Now the Dremel, it has a lot of power, and it definitely has some kickback to it, so be careful with that. Now for this part, this was kind of a little bit of an oopsie, a little bit of a learning curve here, I guess we'll say. I added a generous amount of hot glue, knowing that I would need that extra stability. However, the sign on the top was just way too heavy in order for this to stand up by itself. So I'm taking a nail, and I can't find my hammer. So I'm just drilling kind of a pilot hole, and then I'm using my drill, and this is where things go a little wrong. So you can see that I end up breaking my sign. Now, I did kind of glue it together. I ended up using that nail actually, and then just kind of piecing the bottom of that broken piece there around the nail and using a ton of hot glue, and I let this sit for about 6 hours. Then I took it outside and spray painted it. Now, I was concerned that the spray paint and the heat with because we're still warm here in Georgia, would melt the hot glue. So after I spray painted everything down, I put the clip back on there because I'm going to be covering up that area anyway. Now, I mentioned that I did have a Cricut, and I am just kind of making some lettering really quickly on my Cricut. Again, if you don't have a Cricut, not an issue. If you can find some lettering from Dollar Tree, this will work out just fine. Now, I made ski slopes, hot chocolate, hot cocoa, and then I did tubing. I was afraid that the hot chocolate might be a little too long, so that's also why I did the hot cocoa. And you'll see that my guesstimates here were correct. So I'm just going to transfer these over to my sign now. So we have some directionals for our ski slope sign. We know where the ski slopes are. We know where the hot cocoa is, and we know where to go tubing. Tubing was something I absolutely loved as a kid. It was my favorite thing in the world to do. I almost lost the S there with the ski slopes, but that's okay. I was able to transfer it right back on. Now, for that little janky area there at the bottom that is kind of broken looking, we are going to cover all of that up. But before I do that, I had to show how cute this looks. I really love this. Now, for the bottom part, I am going to add just some gobs and gobs of hot glue because it kind of looks like icicles dripping down, especially when you add some of these snowflakes from the Dollar Tree. So just like glitter, I am going to start sprinkling this into all of that area where I've added the hot glue. And you will see that one becomes quite the mess. But I am going to just kind of move that snow around everywhere there's a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of this. And you can see it's creating little icicles on my fingers, and that's okay because it actually does come off really, really easy. So I'm going to just continue to kind of build up the snow around the base of my sign. And for this next kind of glob of hot glue, I'm using the heat of the point of the hot glue, that I was going to say the needle, but that doesn't sound right. You know what I'm talking about. You just saw me do it. And now for the sign itself, I also wanted to give that effect that you've got some icicles and some snow that are also dripping off the sign itself. So I am going to go through and just make sure that I've got some gobs of hot glue just kind of dripping down the sides. We've got it on all of the points, really anywhere that the snow would be hitting if this sign were out in the wilderness or out at the ski lodge and it was actually snowing. You know, we want to give this sign as real of an effect as possible. So kind of tilt it to one side if you need to, kind of get rid of all those random glue strings that are begging to be icicles, and just keep adding your snow until you've got the amount of snow that you want on your sign. I like snow. I don't like a lot of snow. So I kind of did like a middle grade here. Now, you may remember that really cute ornament that I picked up from Dollar Tree. We're actually going to take that burlap and we're going to cut that off of there because we're not going to need that. That would be where you would hang this on the tree. Instead, I'm going to take my skis and we are going to lean them up against the sign. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. And as you can see, this creates quite an impressive DIY. I love the way that this looks. It's got the directionals for the ski slopes and for the hot chocolate and the tubing, and it just makes me think about Christmas time and the holidays. I really, really like this one. Metal cones for such a long time. Now, I have 2 star ornaments. I also have a set of string lights, 2 sets of string lights, and then these metal floral cones. I purchased these in the summertime. I've hung on to them. I recently found them at my store again and knew that I wanted to do something with them for Christmas. So I'm going to take that ornament pack that I picked up, and what we're going to do is kind of separate, of course, those from the package. And then I'm going to take my lineman pliers and I'm just going to clip the end of the star. Now, I will say at the tip of each one of the star, you see where the little hanging thing for the ornament would have been. That's probably where I should have clipped this, but I didn't. So I just made sure on the other star that I was consistent at least, and have that hole kind of at the top of each one of those. So just forgive me with that one. So once I've got that kind of area clipped there, I'm just going to take my all-purpose hot glue from Shore Bonder, and I am going to add a nice glob at the tip here. And for the tip, what we're going to be doing is making sure that this star sits upright on the end of these cones. Now, this first pass, I didn't quite clip it far enough, so I am going to take my lineman pliers and I'm just going to clip these right again. This is a very thin plastic, by the way, so you could probably even cut through these with your scissors. I don't think that there's any reason why you couldn't do that, honestly, because it is very, very thin again, and for the most part, it does kind of create a straight line when you do clip them. So now go ahead and take your Shore Bonder or your hot glue of choice. I'm again using Shore Bonder's all-purpose glue, and I am just going to add it at the tip here and slip there a little bit. Now, once I've got the star on there, I'm just going to kind of help hold it into place. I repeated that with both of them, and I took them outside. I'm spray painting these with a metallic gold. This is that same gold that I've used for some other projects earlier, that mirrored gold. Again, love the way that this coverage is. This is an Ace Hardware brand, and I'm super, super happy with this paint. I went ahead and just did 2 coats on the metal part, and then for the stars, I did end up doing 3. I took the lights inside, I wrapped them around there, and you've got the cutest little Christmas trees. They're very modern looking. What I loved about these two is that you could really mix this up. You could paint these any color that you wanted to. You could add a different type of ornament or star at the top. And again, really, really loved the way that these looked. Next DIY is so easy. Find 2 of these plastic, kind of like acrylic-y reindeer. Paint them black. Use a black flat matte spray paint. This is one that is made for plastic. It's from Rust-Oleum. It bonds to multiple surfaces, actually. This is the one that I use probably the most out of all my paints. And literally all you're doing is spray painting them. Spray painting them, making sure that you're getting all the areas, the underbelly. How amazing do these look? They look so classic, so high-end, very, very current, very modern, very on-trend. You could paint them any color you wanted to, really. But I love the way they look standing on top of that buffalo check placemat near my Christmas tree also. How cute are these? Some of these wooden letters that I picked up from Amazon. They're kind of like a pressed wood. It's kind of like a composite wood, kind of similar to what some of your Dollar Tree signs are made of. I actually picked these up on Amazon, and I have a link down below. Now, my whiteboard there is just a piece of scrap wood, and it actually just kind of works out perfectly for what I want to do today. So first thing I'm going to do is take my letters outside. I'm going to spray paint them this bright red. This is an apple red color. I think it's perfect for the holiday season. It's by Rust-Oleum, and it's one of my favorites. Then for my board, I did just go ahead and clean this up and give it a nice coat of white paint. I'm going to glue those letters down. I'm just using some all-purpose glue, and for this particular purpose, it's going to be fine. I added a little bit of greenery and a bow to the top. Then I took some brown beads and strung it, and this is what the sign looks like when it's all done on the front door. I absolutely love this so much and think that this is a great addition to the front porch. Now, my next holiday project is going to involve these old 4th of July corrugated metal signs. Now, they make a couple different versions of these. You can pick these up in Crafter Square that are blank. I'm using the 4th of July ones. I'm also using these 5-inch wood squares. These are from Crafter Square, and they are perfect for those same letters that I just used for the previous project. So what I'm going to do with this is actually make a very cool Christmas banner out of all of these. And I want to take the metal side, or the kind of plain side, if you will. And first thing we're going to do is take a bunch of these wood pieces, and we are going to be gluing these along with the letters to spell out the word Christmas. So first thing I need to do is take these letters outside and we are going to spray paint them red. Yes, I realize the C is upside down when I'm spraying this because I'm a bonehead, but not to worry because I will end up fixing that eventually. Now for those wood squares, I did take those outside and spray painted those white because I'm wanting something very traditional, kind of red and white Christmassy here, but it's still going to have kind of a very cool farmhouse kind of a look. Now, all of these signs, I'm taking the strings and I'm cutting them in half and I'm keeping them attached because what I'm going to do with those corrugated signs is we're actually going to first hot glue all of those squares to the corrugated metal. Now, I made this project last year. I will give you a huge tip if you want to make it this year. Use E6000 or use a glue that is more compatible with being outdoors if you do plan on putting this outdoors. I had this outdoors on the front porch for a while and it didn't really work out too good. Now, this is my CG or what should have been my C, and yeah, I end up fixing it after the fact, but just go with me, pretend it's a C. So now you're just going to glue all of your letters down right on top of your pieces of wood and that corrugated metal. And then, of course, if you have any glue blobs like that one there, you're going to get rid of that. And you are literally going to be spelling out the word Christmas with all of your letters. So after I put all of those in place, now remember those strings that you cut. Now you could simply use some ribbon like this if you wanted to. That would be adorable. But because I'm kind of keeping this a little rustic looking, I am going to just use those strings. So that part, totally up to you. I really liked the way that the twine kind of worked with the corrugated metal, and then I was able to kind of tie them up in little bows and keeping them, you know, nice and farmhousey looking, if you will. And as I'm going through and doing this, I'm not pulling them completely tight. That way there is a little bit of sway, there's a little bit of movement as you're kind of going through and hanging this up. So now that you've got everything done and tied together, this is what it looks like on my mantle. And I love this. And I probably should have kept it inside, even if it does say Grimace. But I ended up taking this outside and putting it on the front porch. And this is really where I fell in love with it. And I figured out that I had to fix my C there. So, all right, our next project is going to use one of these triangle kind of shapes from Dollar Tree. It's not really the houses. Also, we're going to be using one of these votive holders and then some of those vase fillers. First thing I'm doing, taking this outside, spray painting it my bright apple red from Rust-Oleum. I think I should get a commission from Rust-Oleum because I really do use a lot of their products and I love a lot of their colors. For that candle holder, I'm going to spray paint that black, and I'm just using a flat matte black paint from, guess who? Rust-Oleum. Now that I've got everything dry, I'm taking it inside, and for the red part of this, I am adding a bunch of hot glue down there in the bottom of this, and I am literally covering the bottom of this. And now I'm going to take some of my vase filler and I'm going to fill it in the bottom where I put that glue. And then I'm going to add more layers of glue, and then I'm going to add more vase filler, and I'm going to continue to kind of build that layer until I've got this little sucker completely filled like this. Then I'm going to take my candlestick holder, or my votive holder rather, add some hot glue to the bottom of this and just glue it to the bottom of my triangle. And now I've got a very decorative Christmas tree that I can use on the bar or really anywhere in the house. I love this and thought that this was really, really adorable. And for my next project, I'm going to take a Dollar Tree canvas. I'm also going to use one of these ornaments that I picked up from Dollar Tree. I am actually going to also use some wood shims because I'm going to make this look like this is on a wood pallet or a wood plank. And so the first thing you're going to notice with these shims is that there is a kind of a skinnier side and there's a fatter side. Now this doesn't work too well when you're trying to have something completely flat. So what I'm going to be doing is gluing these down in alternating patterns. That way it kind of gives me that look of like in a rough palette wall or something like that. And I kind of like the fact that they are not perfectly flat across it. I think it adds a really cool kind of rustic touch to it. And by the way, how perfect are the sizing for this canvas that I picked up at Dollar Tree? Like, this is the exact same amount of shims needed all the way down. Now that I know that everything is going to fit and everything is going to work, I am going to add a bunch of glue to my canvas. But before I even do that, I am going to actually stain this. Now I'm using my antiquing wax from Waverly, and I'm just doing this because I want to make sure that if some of those wood slats are not glued together properly, or maybe there's some spacing or something involved, that you're not going to see that bright white canvas in the background there. So go ahead, take some antiquing wax, make sure you've got everything nicely covered. And then once that is dried, then you're going to go and you're going to add a bunch of glue, and you're going to literally glue your shims down in that alternating pattern that we kind of described in the first part here. So I'm going to, I think I end up doing 2 coats of this. I did this like last year. So I'm really trying to remember what was going on here and why I am just going back and forth with that, that poor antiquing wax. Okay, now I'm gonna dry it, and now after that's dried, now we're adding some glue. This is hilarious. I'm recording brand new voiceover for you guys when we show these compilation videos, because I think it's relevant for you to understand kind of what's going on and what the background looked like, and why the camera angle was so funky, because a couple years ago I wasn't so great at all of this. And anyway, adding lots and lots of hot glue kind of all the way down the shim there, and then gluing this right down on that canvas, making sure that everything is nice and flush and tight and kind of held together there. And then after I have that canvas completely covered with all of those shims, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to use my antiquing wax on the shims themselves as well, because we are going to want to make sure that this has that kind of rustic look that we're going for. And I think I remember now why I ended up adding some other shim pieces here, is because there were some spaces that were just a little too wide, and I could kind of add some other shims in there. So after I did that, then I went through with my Waverly antiquing wax, and I'm literally just kind of going back and forth and covering everything in that antiquing wax. I love working with antiquing wax. It's one of my favorites. I purposely don't put it on very, very thick all the time. I like to be able to wipe away that excess and give everything a really cool kind of distressed look. And again, I'm going for something here that looks like it's made out of pallet wood. So again, something that's super cool and very, very easy to do. If you don't have antiquing wax, you can use Old English furniture polish. You could literally also use brown paint that you've watered down. You could even use stain if you wanted to. Now for that ornament, I separated the reindeer from the ornamental kind of wreath shape, and I'm taking the reindeer and spray painting him black. And then for the horns, or I guess they're the antlers that are left here, I am spray painting these a metallic silver. And this is going to really, really pop against that beautiful grain there. Now, for the edges of the canvas, you can go ahead and just add in some black paint like I'm doing. I'm using ink by Waverly, and I'm just going through and touching up the sides of this canvas. And it really kind of helps add to that distressed kind of look and feel that we're going for. And it's also going to really tie in the black from the reindeer. So after I've done this and went around all 4 sides, again, I'm going to pull out the heat gun. I'm going to make sure that everything is nice and dried. And then you're going to have a very cool looking kind of old palette piece, kind of like this here. And I did go through with a little bit of the black paint and kind of distress the center part of that. Now with the ring itself, I'm going to go ahead and add glue onto the back of this. We're going to glue it down in the center of the palette, but there was a little bit of an area that was not perfectly flat, and so
once you've kind of figured out where that placement is, then you're good to go. And you may need to add a little bit of extra glue here and there. And then for the reindeer head itself, I'm wanting this to kind of protrude out just a little bit more. And the reindeer surface, or that surface back, is actually kind of rounded, and it doesn't sit flush up against here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this little wood circle, and this was like a leftover wheel from something. I am going to glue it to the back of the reindeer's head, because that will then allow the bust form of the reindeer to be able to lay flat against your piece, kind of like this. And when it's all said and done, you've got a great piece of art that I think you could even use in like a man cave or something. You could sneak in some Christmas decor. And honestly, I think this is something that you could easily keep out all year long. You could put a little red reindeer nose on it. You could put a Christmas bow on it. It's a lot of different really cool things that you could do with this one. All right, everyone, and for the next project, I'm going to use this wood soldier that I picked up from Michael's. I'm also going to be using a placemat from Dollar Tree, and then also I'm going to be using one of these house forms that I picked up during the springtime. The placemat I thought was great because it kind of looks like Christmas trees, and I'm going to use this for the backing of my house. Now, I could go ahead and just trace this out, and, if you do that, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the background, and that certainly is an option for you. Or you can push the back of these houses out, and it will actually come out really, really easily, kind of like you see here. Now, you'll have to kind of peel away some of the, that paper that kind of gets stuck there, but not a big deal. You can take a pair of scissors and kind of do what I did there. And then I'm using this Dollar Tree spray glue that I picked up, and I just literally spray glued that placemat right to the back of that piece of the house backing. So hopefully that's making sense. For the toy soldier, I took him outside, and I just used antiquing wax, and I covered the little guy in antiquing wax, and then I took a cloth and just kind of wiped away the excess, and then I left it outside to dry. Now, for this backing, that spray glue wasn't so great for the placemat. I've used it in other projects and it's been fine, but for this placemat, it didn't really work too well, so I went ahead and just made sure that I used some of my hot glue. Now, for the house shape itself, I'm going to paint that white. I'm just using a chalk paint here. I think this is Waverly's, just kind of white chalk paint. I'm sure it has a fancy name like cotton or, something like that. But after I did that, I then took my heat gun and just made sure everything was nice and dried. And then I did go ahead and just distress it just a little bit, because I wanted to bring in some of that kind of wood, or that, rougher feel, if that makes any sense, because you've got that wood toy soldier there. And then after I'm kind of done playing around with it and distressing it, I think I almost distressed it too much. I may have even gone back in and repainted some of it, honestly. But after I kind of beat it up a little bit with my paintbrush, then I just took some of my hot glue. I wiped away some of it, as you can see here. And then I'm going to take my hot glue gun and just go right around the backing there. And I'm going to glue that now placemat covered backing back into place. That way we have a very cool and vibrant background for our toy soldier. Now, if you look at that placemat, what I think is really cool about that is it looks like it is red. If you're focusing on the red, it looks like the trees are upside down. If you're focusing on the white, it looks like white Christmas trees. And I thought that was really, really cool. And as soon as I saw it, it really stuck out in my mind and reminded me of Christmas trees, which is why I was definitely drawn to it. Now, go ahead and take your dirty, filthy fingers like I have here. Gosh, I've come a long way. And I am just going to go ahead and just secure everything down
make sure that everything is nice and dry, and then I'm going to add in my little toy soldier guy. What's great about him is he is the perfect size for the inside of this house, and I really, really liked it, and I loved the way that this looked. I'm going to go ahead and just position him down, make sure that he is nice and safe, and then clearly I'm going to have to go back and add a little bit of glue. I added some greenery and a little bow, and you've got the cutest decor for your home.
Next project, I'm not even kidding you. This is my favorite project. I still have this. I use this all the time. These are antler ornaments or antler pieces. They were like picks. They had this stick in the bottom of them. I took the stick out. I have this garden bowl from Dollar Tree, this kind of shallow bowl. And then I have one of these Dollar Tree candle holders. Now, the idea here is to create a bowl that is like an antler bowl. And the first thing I'm going to do is kind of trim off the very bottoms of my my antlers here. Now, some of them I did trim just a little bit, but you don't have to cut them completely, because for the most part, that bottom part is kind of flexible. And also what's really cool about them is that when the heat gun or the glue gun, the temperature gets hot, it makes them more pliable. So now that you can see, I've glued them all to the base of my candlestick, and I'm just going back through and reinforcing the antlers, making sure that they're good and solid on that candlestick. And I have to tell you, I still have this to this day. This is something that I use on my coffee table every year. I love the way it looks right now, but I wanted to give this a little bit of glam. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the bowl outside. Now, I ended up spray painting it white at first, and then you'll see I didn't really like the white. I thought that it needed a little bit more punch to it. Now, for the antlers and for the other pieces, I went ahead and just spray painted those gold. I did this bright, beautiful gold, which I'm obsessed with, and of course I love. And then for the bowl itself, I decided to spray paint that black because it went so much better with the interior of my home. And I added some Christmas elements. I also added a candle, and bam, I freaking love this thing so much. It reminds me of a high-end bowl that I saw at like a Macy's or somewhere. And this is probably to date one of my favorite Christmas DIYs that I've done in the last couple years of having my channel. All right, everyone, and for the next project, we're going to take 3 of these triangle-shaped, I call them the Dollar Tree houses. I know they're not really houses, but that's what I'm going to call them for this project. And then I have 4 of these wood blocks. These came from a craft store that I picked up at Lake Hartwell, and they were just kind of the perfect size, so I grabbed them and have been keeping them in my stash. Now, for the trees, or at least for one of the trees that I'm going to be making, I need to be able to stack these boxes on each other. So I'm going to take my Dremel tool here, and I am going to cut away at the cardboard. Now, my Dremel tool I do love to use. It's extremely powerful. And if you can invest in something like this, I do recommend it. However, again, it's super, super powerful. And I am not a great person to use tools with all the time. And I can handle the Dremel pretty good. Now, again, it is powerful. As you can see, it is sawing through this Dollar Tree wood and almost setting it on fire because it was... it was turned up pretty high. Now I can go ahead and just kind of pop that piece out that I've kind of sawed away, or at least I'm going to try. And it's okay because I had to take the backings off of this anyway. So don't worry about that part, or at least that wasn't the original plan, but that's what the plan is now. And now that I do have that, I can finish cutting the rest of the way and just go ahead and remove that piece altogether. And then again, because I did it with the first one, I went ahead and did it with the second one too. Now for my glue, now that kind of line that you see there, I took those pieces and stacked them on top of each other and then kind of drew the line where I needed to draw the glue. And so I created that kind of double version that you're seeing there to the left. And then for the wood block, I'm going to take the wood block and just glue that directly down on top of the or the bottom of the surface, I guess I should say. Now for the second one, I'm going to pop the backing off of this one. This one came out pretty easy and didn't have a lot of this residual kind of paper and smudge. So that was kind of a good thing. And I'm just going to glue the single tree by itself. So when you're all done, you're going to have two that looks like that. Sorry, that went by really, really quickly. Now for the wood block, I'm going to go ahead and just paint that black. I did end up finally getting rid of that little tiny brush and going to one of the Dollar Tree foam brushes. Not a big fan of these Dollar Tree foam brushes, I have to say. Just invest in something better from Michael's or something. Now for the exterior of the tree that moved really, really fast, I apologize for that. I did antiquing wax, and then for the edges, I did the white or the black ink chalk paint. Now I've got these kind of garland pieces that I strung around there, and boom, you've got these cute, adorable little trees. This is also a crafter square kind of a project. I took this great kind of hanging star wood piece and then another just square wood piece. Now for this, I'm going to separate the star from it because I'm actually not going to use the interior star. We're going to cut that away and kind of push that aside. And then for our wood piece here, I'm going to notch this out. I'm using this little wood tool that I actually picked up at Dollar Tree. And the idea here is to create little notches so our star can stand up. That wood piece is the exact perfect size here. So now that we have this star standing up because of the way that we kind of hatched out that wood, I'm going to now add a piece of my my Jenga block pieces on either side of the star. Why can't I talk today? And I am going to add this on either side of the base of the star because we are creating kind of a candle holder out of this. Now, it's a battery operated candle holder. You don't want to put a real candle in here, even though I think I may have for the example video. But what this does is it creates this very flat surface. Now, this was a small kind of plastic piece that I had from a previous project. It was already spray painted gold, so it kind of worked out perfectly. I'm just going to go ahead and glue this at the top, and then I'm going to go outside and just kind of finish spray painting everything gold on the star itself. And then once I had everything gold, I took the hole at the top, I added that little bit of holly, and check out how adorable this is for a candle holder. Now, yes, I know I said not to put a real fire in here. I added a little tiny baby tea light. I don't recommend doing this though because my holly piece did end up catching on fire. This next one is another favorite of mine. I loved these gift bags when I saw them, and I knew I wanted to do something more permanent with them than use them as a gift bag. Now I have this piece of scrap wood. Anytime you're looking for scrap wood, look on Facebook Marketplace. So many people are getting rid of scrap wood, and you can easily get rid of or pick up some free pieces. Also, places like Home Depot or Lowe's will have a free bin. You don't really get pieces this size there, but I did end up getting this from a free pile. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of measure out where I want to cut this because the bag is a little bit bigger than the board itself. But if I center this the right way, then I'm going to be in good shape. Now, the size of the sign, I think, end up having to cut down a little bit. So for the bag itself, I'm just going to go ahead and just start trimming this. And I started with the white line and just kind of using that as my guide because it was going to kind of work out to be the right size that I was going to need for this. And as I'm just kind of trimming this down, I am trying to do this as tightly as I can and trying to stay right along that line there because, you know, obviously I want to be able to use this. Now, for the board itself, I did go ahead and take the sides, and I'm just going to use my favorite product ever, Waverly's Antiquing Wax or the Craft Smart Antiquing Wax. Any kind of antiquing wax or stain is like my jam. I love this. And I did go ahead and just kind of stain down all the sides of this. Now that rough side there that was cut, I probably should have taken some sandpaper and just sanded that down, but it's okay. It actually ended up working out just fine, and I was able to still kind of use everything that I wanted to. Now, after I did get all of those sides covered, then it was time to go ahead and to add my print or my bag to the board itself. Now I'm using some Mod Podge, and I'm using quite a bit of Mod Podge here, but it does soak into the wood a little bit. So for this one, I wasn't totally, overkill here. It was not overkill, I should say. I added a generous amount of my Mod Podge and just kind of made sure that it was spread out nice and evenly, and, kind of working it back and forth, as you can see there, and getting rid of the globs and such. And then I did go ahead and add my bag. Now I did have to end up trimming it down because it was a little, the bag size was a little big. Now I smoothed it down, but I took that rag that I had that antiquing wax on and really started to age that reindeer sign. And I loved the way that this turned out. It just made it look even older to me, like it was an old sign. And then I added a simple wood hanger, and you've got a great piece of artwork that looks really, really cool. And they had some of the coolest bags last year, and this will be in my home again this year. This will definitely be hung up by the front door, and it's such a cool piece. I was so happy with the way that this one turned out. Wood blocks. I picked this up at that craft store that I mentioned earlier that was near Lake Hartwell. I have this bell ornament that I picked up, and then I also have this Dollar Tree tray. I'm going to create something that looks like a vintage door bell kind of hanger thing that will be outside on the front porch. So the first thing I did was kind of take apart any of the kind of accoutrements that were hanging from the bell themselves, because I did want this to be just very kind of strict here. And for the actual gold part, or the bell, and for the wood piece, I'm going to glue those in place, and I'm struggling here with my little glue gun, but I helped him out and kind of pushed the glue stick down, and then I took that wood block and just kind of centered that at the top of my tray, and then before it dried, I just picked it up and kind of looked at it, making sure that it was perfectly straight, or at least straight enough for me. And then for the doorbell part of it, I just hammered that down with a nail because there is a little bit of a hanger there at the top. Now I'm taking everything outside, and I'm going to spray paint this that flat black from Rust-Oleum. Again, this is a black color that I really enjoy using. I don't like a lot of the glossier spray paints, and for me, I have lots and lots of these flat matte kind of colors. This black I thought was perfect, and this is kind of like a hammered black for this particular one, because I did want this to look like an aged bell. Now for that square block, I'm going to kind of camouflage that a little bit, and I'm doing that by taking those wreath kind of twisty ties that you can pick up at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to kind of wrap that around the bell, or the square part of the bell, because I'm trying to camouflage that a little bit to make this look like it might be hanging like on the side of a building or something, let's say. And then for the actual part there that is not covered, I'm taking this ribbon and I cut it down to where it would kind of fit perfectly over that area. So I'm using my fingers there. I added some hot glue at the tip of that. I'm going to make sure it has a nice good hold. I'm going to kind of roll it over the front there, and then I will end up trimming that down and having that other piece glued down. And then for the center, I just added a couple of the poinsettia pieces here and added some other floral pieces, and you've got something that looks really, really cute. And it just reminds me of like this vintage bell that you would see in like, A Christmas Story or something like that. For the poinsettia leaves, I did go ahead and just glue some of those down. And then for the bell part itself, I took some of the loose jingle bells that I had. I tied them to a couple of different strings. I tied them together in a knot, and then I fed them up through the top of the bell. That way it did have some jingle to my bell, and then tied that off, trimmed away any of the excess, and like right now, just it hanging on the door, it's kind of a fun wreath type of effect, right? You've got the cuteness of the bell itself. This is it on my old front door before I painted it yellow. All right, everyone, and for my last project of this video, I am going to be creating some ornaments with these really cute tags that I picked up from Walmart. Now, I also grabbed all of these glorious beads from Walmart. I told you, when you can grab the garland that typically comes in a strand like this, if you can get them in every single color available, it will make your life so much easier. And it's such a good deal. For $6, I don't understand why everybody didn't buy these last year. So now that I've got my ornament pieces kind of lined up here, I am going to create some little beaded tassels with each of them. But before I do that, I need to make sure that we've got these covered and set up to where they are two-sided, because as you can see, one side is cardboard. And to do that, I'm going to take them and glue them together kind of like so. I'm going to add the hot glue kind of towards the bottom part of that because I didn't want to, put any glue in the hole. And now I'm just going to take my pieces. I'm stringing them with some beads until I've got the great setup. You can use the red and white beads. You can use all white. You could use the brown and white. You can really make these perfect and customized for you. And then for mine, I wanted to go ahead and add a little something extra for some of these. So after everything set up, I did have this little toy soldier guy, and I thought that he would be really cute as part of these beaded tassels. And this little soldier guy was something that I kind of added in here last minute. I'm adding some glue at the top of his head there. I'm going to just glue this down, and I'm keeping it natural because the other beads within that toy soldier guy were kind of that natural color. And I love the way that black and white and natural color just kind of all blended together. And then I literally took all of these and just decorated a small tree in my craft room with these fun little ornament tags. And I was so happy with the way this turned out. All right, guys, that was a long video. If you are still here, thank you so much for watching to the very end. I don't know how many people stayed until the very end, but again, it is much appreciated. Also, once again, good night to my friend Jacqueline, who I know is watching, and I hope that you enjoyed all of these projects. If you are one of my OGs, which I know Jacqueline is an OG, thank you guys so much. That just means you're a part of the original gang here, and I'm looking forward to bringing you more Christmas DIYs, some new Christmas DIYs. I'll probably sneak a few fall ones in there too before we get too crazy with the Christmas. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.